Hey everybody, Spine Ticks Pressing here, and I've got a copy of Ultimate Fallout number 4 still in the poly bag. So I need you to stay tuned as I go through the steps on pressing this modern key. So let's get to it! Alrighty, well thanks for sticking with the channel to take a look at this one. And what we've got here is we've got a nice copy of Ultimate Fallout 4 from initial inspection. There do not appear to be any color breaking spine ticks along the spine. The book is still in the poly bag, and it is really difficult to ascertain how bad the poly bag crease is on this book. But this book, if you take it right out of the bag, it generally has a fairly noticeable crease on the back of the book. And you can see, let me see if I can angle this. You can sort of see it right there running up the full length of the book. So, you know, I see a lot of things. I'm not sure how much education there is out there on books in poly bags, but it's really important to get them out of the bag. I think as soon as possible. This book came out, I believe, I want to say 2011, and it's a pretty important modern key, especially this particular, I think this is the first print, cover A. This is a pretty important book nowadays. A lot of people like Miles. I like Miles myself, and think he's an important character that's here to stay. So first step is I like to place my book on top of a backer board in order to cut very carefully the poly bag. And now we're going to remove the book very gently. Before I do that though, notice this particular one I don't have my gloves on yet, and I have washed my hands pretty thoroughly. I always do that. But this particular book, it's an important one, and I really would like to do everything possible in order to get a 9.8 out of this book. I think it definitely is a 9.8 candidate. I don't see any major issues, but it's difficult to tell with a poly bag. So I'm gonna do a quick change here and put on some gloves. Okay, there we go. Gloves are on. So let's get the book out. And I'm just gonna very carefully open the top area of the poly bag so that I can get my fingers on the book, and gently I'm going to pin the book down to the paper and then gently take out the bag. So I couldn't really tell what the poly bag crease looked like from inside the bag, but it is fairly noticeable, and I will try to angle it in a way that you can see it. I think you can start to see it right there, and it runs the full length of the book. So, and then we've got a pretty good little crease right there. Can you see that one? Just to the right of the poly bag crease. Other than that, the book looks to be in fairly good shape. Let's take a backer board here, and we're going to do some inspections of this book. So one thing that jumps out at me is this corner. Doesn't look perfect, but it's not bad. It's workable. Everything else, I think, got a little bit of a finger bend here. Staples look great. Corners look great. I think this book is still a 9.8 candidate. And I'm going to do everything in my power to maintain that possibility. I'm going to flip it over very carefully using the book itself and our backer boards. Let's hold this up here to the front. Looks very nice. All right. So I'm going to do a quick cleaning of the book. The book itself should be relatively clean. Don't see anything. I do see a couple really problematic issues that we saw in the back, that finger bend crease. There's another one I see right here. Let me see if I can get it for you. Let's angle that. There it is. See that? Right there. And it's kind of an interesting spot. I think that is a kind of a common area where there are problems. So I'm not sure if that's something that was done by fingers or if that was something done in production. But I did see watched, and hopefully you watched as well, the West Coast Avengers. They had I think it's Matt Nelson, the president of CGC, on an interview, and he talked briefly about this book and how this book, raw, right out of the bag, is a 7.5 to an 8.5. And I thought that was really interesting, but very telling on the importance of pressing this book, getting it up to the standard it needs to be. We've got a pretty good spine stress area here, but it doesn't look like it's color breaking. See it right there? Ever so slightly color breaking, but it's not. I don't think it's moved out from the edge. I think that's still part of the artwork on Iron Man. And so this one, without a doubt, is pretty beat. There's some major problems in terms of creases that I see. So my guess is I'm probably going to need to press this multiple times, but I am going to use a method that I think works pretty well on modern books. So I'm just going to go over it gently with my pad, pick up any kind of residue that might be on it. The book itself looks very nice. And we're going to flip it over. Get it to the back. There we go. Got Chris Evans there. Good old Captain America with his shield. Got a little bit of battle damage. I recently took my daughter to Universal Hollywood in California, of course, and there was a shopping center attached to the theme park that was free to get in, and there was a store, a collectible store, that had movie memorabilia, photos that were signed by actors and actresses that you could purchase. And one of the things in the store that I saw was an actual film used Captain America shield. Now, it wasn't signed, but there was some battle damage to it. It didn't quite look like that one. And they wanted $125,000 for it. That's a little bit out of my price range. All right, that's done. Now I'm going to go over the book with a square that I cut. I buy these in sponge size. They're about yay big, and I cut them. I like to cut them into little squares because I like to, when one gets too dirty, I just use a different side. But I feel that this is a very good cleaning tool. And when I get resistance from the book, I know it's doing something. And I'm getting some resistance from this book. I'm not sure what I'm picking up. It could be just the lettering, the way the printing of the lettering is. But I'm going to go over it to try to whiten it a little bit. Now, I have read stories about this polybag crease that it can be really significant. And let's go into the book and see. You can see it there on that page. And then it's not so bad here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to set up a slightly different, what is going on right here? Something right there is very odd. Okay, so there was an image of Cap's belt, but right on it, I'll try to angle it, you can see that there is a, see it right there? It's kind of a crease or a pinch. This book has a number of them, so we'll see. We'll see if they come out. What I'm going to do is do this book slightly different than the way I would do a normal modern, in terms of where I'm going to place my paper. So my cardstock paper is not going to go directly behind the cover, because on this particular book, this polybag crease is visible definitely on the very last page, and then just barely visible on the second to last page. So I'm going to put my paper here. I'll demonstrate this in a minute. I'm going to put it not behind the cover as I normally would, but one page further back. And the goal is to try to pick up that creasing and get it out. All right, let's go over the front. I'm going to do the same thing with the front cover as well. A little color break right there. It's tough. It's, you really want, when I work on these books that are 9/8 candidates, I really want to get this book to a 9/8. I kind of obsess on it, but that's what I want to do. And I know it's possible, and it's going to take a little bit of ingenuity and a little bit of skill and a little bit of luck to get there. And I think this one still has a chance. This is a beautiful cover. It's really a nice cover. I do like the Into the Spider-Verse movies, number 1 and 2. I think they were very good movies, very well done. The animation was outstanding. And I do believe we will see in the Marvel Cinematic Universe, I think we will see a Miles Morales. But I don't think we need to know that this is an important book and that this is an important character. Okay, so I feel pretty good about this book. I don't see any residual fingerprints. What I mostly just see, as I said before, are some very slight, right here, very slight color break, very slight one there. But all in all, the book does look pretty good. So what I'm going to do to prep this book for pressing is I'm going to set my press at 160 degrees, but I want it cold. So it's, when I flip it on, I'm going to basically do like a flash press, if you want to call it that. This book is going to start cold. I'm going to heat it up to the 160, and then I'm going to just cut off all power and let it cool back down. And then I'm going to flip the book and do the same thing again. Now I'm going to replace all the paper that I used for this book. So what I'm going to need is I'm going to need a backer board for the center of the book. And then I use a 65-pound cardstock. It's not going to go on right in front of this, what do you call it, splash page, I guess is what you call this. It's going to go behind it. I'm going to put it in here, and then same thing with the back. And I'm going to load this slightly different into the press, and I'll show you how I do that in just a little bit. So hey, if you're enjoying this video, I like to try to feature some high-end books that I'm working on and when I'm doing the pressing. And if you really like this video, make sure you hit that like button, and please hit the subscribe button so that we tell the YouTube algorithm that this is a cool video and gets it out to more people. So thank you for doing that in advance. All right. Okay, I've got some of my paper here and I've got my book. And so I'm going to start with the center of the book, and I'm going to add a backing board to minimize any chance of crushing the staples. So we're going to go with backer board in the center. I like to use a 65-pound cardstock paper that I got off of Amazon. It has a nice texture to it, very smooth on one side, but not very thick. And so this one, as I said before, I'm going to place it behind the splash page, like so. I am going to take a piece of printer paper and put it behind the front cover, like so. Now I'm going to turn the book over. I've got a lot more support in the book now since the center is covered. And I'm going to do the same thing to the back. Now my theory on the copy paper is it just provides a little bit more chubbiness. I guess we could, I don't know if that's a word. A little more thickness to the book so that we get these small creases out of the front cover. So when I place this in the press, I am going to double check everything, and I'm not going to use a good deal of pressure on this book. So I'm going to place the book itself on top of a backer board. As you can see here, it's going to go just like this. And I'm going to place one more piece of white paper on top. And then I'm going to place one SRP sheet on top of the book. I'm not going to place one on the bottom. What I've noticed with a lot of books is the way the heat press works is that the heat's generated from the top. I have a clamshell press, and it just sort of pushes the heat downward into the book. So a lot of times what I'll get when I have a sheet of the SRP paper, the silicone release paper, at the bottom, I'll notice the bottom of the book, that bottom sheet is extremely wrinkled. So what I'm wanting this to do is to allow the moisture to just kind of dissipate out into the backer board. It's going to sort of be absorbed into that and then just dissipate. The SRP paper has a tendency, in my opinion, to trap the moisture, and I don't want that at all for this book. And a lot of times you don't want that at all with any moderns. So there we go. This is how I'm going to load it into the press, and I'm going to clamp it down. Again, all I'm going to add to this stack is one sheet of printer paper on top, and then my SRP paper on top of that to provide a little bit of more heat protection to the top cover. All right, so let's take a look at it in the press. Ready to go? Okay, we've got it in the press, and you can see how it's positioned. The spine of the book is facing the far away, I guess this is the area that's closest to the heat press itself. And I'm going to place, as I said before, my sheet of printer paper over the book. And I'm going to place my sheet of SRP paper on top of that. Just like so. Now I am going to put my plate on top of this. And there is my plate. And I like the metal plates. I feel that you get a little bit better dissipation of the heat throughout. And so at this point now I'm going to essentially clamp down the book. And I'm going to do it really carefully. I do not want excessive pressure on the book. So I'm going to actually take it out quite a bit. This should, a small child should be able to shut the press. Pressure is not a major, I think you don't want it to be a major factor in this process, because what happens if you have too much pressure is you will essentially press the staples out, or actually I should say they'll get sucked into the book, so they'll look recessed. Okay, so I like to this is where I think there's kind of an art form to this, is just getting the right feel on the pressure of the book. I feel like that's not enough, and just ever so slightly moving it in. Okay, that's pretty good, although my gut tells me to go out just a touch, which I am, and I like that much better. Okay, so the book itself is ready to go in the press, and I'm going to hit this on. It's going to heat up to 160 degrees. Now, down below it does show that I have the press already set for 15 minutes, but I'm not leaving this book in for 15 minutes. I'm just going to let it heat up. I'm going to let it flash press up to 160, and then it's going off. And in about 30 minutes, I'm going to pop the book out. I'm going to open it, take a look at it, change the layers that I have in the book, the paper layers, and then repress again. Well, here it is out of the press, and I'll try to lean it so you can see this area on the foot. Looks spectacular. Over here on the neck, that little indentation is gone. The book looks outstanding. Unfortunately, I'll show you on the back. I think this is a 9.4 or a 9.6, leaning more toward a 9.6. It does look beautiful, this book. But there is a little bit of wear around the staples. So let's take a look at that. So here's the back. You can see the polybag crease is gone. And I think the lesson that needs to be learned here is that books of value that are in a polybag, they need to be taken out right away, because the book does not have the proper backing board. It does not have a tight fit, and the book invariably moves around inside the polybag. And I'm not sure if you can see this, but you can see it, I think there's a little tiny bit of color loss, color rub where the staples are. And I think that just occurred, from the book being in the poly bag. So you can see it a little bit, just a tiny bit down there by that staple as well. But across the back, you can see a little bit of remnant of that finger bend. But on the back looks good. The back is, it's fantastic. The book looks fantastic. I wish it could be a 9.8. I just don't think this book can qualify with that color rub that you see around the staples. So thanks for checking this out. Thanks for being part of the channel. Hope you enjoyed this video. And as always, happy hunting.